The chase Marcus Kane's lungs burned as he crashed through the dense undergrowth, thorns tearing at his jacket like grasping fingers. Behind him, the mechanical whir of reconnaissance drones grew louder, their searchlights cutting through the young forest canopy in desperate arcs. 3 days ago, he'd been a systems engineer at Blackwater Research Facility. Now he was a fugitive, carrying the weight of humanity's darkest secret. The experiment had gone wrong. Catastrophically wrong. He'd been running diagnostics on the quantum resonance chamber when the breach occurred, a tear in space itself, crackling with energy that shouldn't exist. Through that impossible wound, he'd seen them. Not one, but dozens of ship-like structures drifting in what could only be described as a parallel dimension. The facility's director, Colonel Hastings, had ordered an immediate lockdown, but Marcus had already seen too much. The assassination team came at dawn out now, deep in the restricted Blackwood forest. Marcus stumbled over a fallen log, his ankle twisting painfully. The drones were closing in. He could hear voices, human voices, coordinating the search grid. They'd kill him to protect their secret, just as they'd killed the others who'd witnessed the breach. Desperation drove him deeper into the woods, where even the military feared to tread. Local legends spoke of disappearances, of hikers who entered these woods and never emerged. The official story blamed wildlife, but Marcus knew better. After what he'd seen, he understood that Earth harbored secrets far darker than missing persons. The forest grew older as he climbed, trees massive and gnarled, their branches forming a canopy so thick that twilight reigned even at midday. His pursuers' voices faded, replaced by an unnatural silence that pressed against his eardrums. No birds, no insects, just the sound of his ragged breathing and the crunch of ancient leaves beneath his feet. Then he saw a cabin, almost invisible beneath decades of overgrowth. Vines strangled its walls, and moss carpeted its roof, but the structure appeared. Sound. It was perfect, remote, hidden. A place where he could rest, think, and plan his next move. Marcus approached cautiously, his engineer's mind cataloging details. The architecture was too old for this region, built with techniques that predated local settlement by centuries. The wood bore strange markings, symbols that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. He pushed open the door, expecting darkness and decay. Instead, he found her dot. She stood in the center of the room, as if she'd been waiting for eternity, tall and impossibly graceful. Her skin held a faint luminescence, marked with patterns that moved like living tattoos. Her eyes were silver, reflecting depths that spoke of vast intelligence and older sorrows. "You brought the key," she said, her voice carrying accents of starlight and distance. "Finally." Marcus stared, his mind reeling. This wasn't what he'd expected to find. This was something far more dangerous. The awakening the alien woman for. She was clearly not human, studied Marcus, with those unsettling silver eyes. Her presence filled the cabin with an energy that made his skin crawl and his hair stand on end. She moved with fluid grace, each gesture deliberate and hypnotic, as if she existed slightly out of phase with reality itself. I don't have any key," Marcus stammered, his back pressed against the door. "I'm just running, hiding. I didn't mean to." "You carry it within you," she interrupted, her English stilted but precise. "The resonance. The breach mark. I have waited ... so long." Her head tilted, studying him with the intensity of a predator. "You are the one who opened the door. The quantum resonance chamber. The breach." Marcus felt ice flow through his veins as understanding began to dawn. "You're talking about the experiment, the tear in space." But that was an accident. No accident. She stepped closer, and Marcus caught her scent ozone and starlight, like the air after lightning. "You're kind. You stumble toward truths that should remain buried. But you," Marcus Kane, you have been marked by the void between worlds. You? Carry its signature. How did she know his name? Marcus pressed himself harder against the door, but found he couldn't move. Not paralyzed, simply unwilling to flee. Her voice held a quality that resonated in his bones, compelling attention. My name is Zephyr, she continued, last guardian of the threshold. I was placed here to watch, to wait, to prevent the awakening of what lies beneath. But your breach, it stirred things that should sleep eternal. The cabin around them seemed to pulse with her words, the walls breathing like living tissue. Marcus noticed for the first time that the floor was different, not wood, but something that felt organic. Beneath his feet, the strange symbols on the walls weren't carved. They were growing, shifting, responding to their presence. This isn't just a cabin, he whispered. The structure above is camouflage, Zephyr confirmed. Beneath lies something far older. A prison, a tomb, a gateway. Her silver eyes held depths of ancient pain. Your species has built their secret facility directly above the seal. Every experiment, every breach, weakens the barriers that keep the sleepers from waking. Outside, the sound of approaching helicopters grew louder. Marcus's pursuers had found his trail. They're coming for me, he said. They are the least of our concerns. Zephyr moved to the window, her form seeming to shimmer at the edges. Your military seeks to weaponize what they do not understand. They believe the breach can be controlled, replicated. They are wrong. What are you talking about? The sleepers. Stir. Each breach feeds them, gives them strength. If they wake fully. She turned to face him, and Marcus saw something that chilled him more than her alien appearance fear. They will consume this world and use it as a stepping stone to devour others. The helicopter sounds grew deafening. Through the overgrown windows, Marcus could see searchlights probing the forest. Soon they would find the cabin. You must choose, Zephyr said urgently. Hide from your hunters and let them continue their experiments until all reality unravels, or trust me and help seal the breach permanently. How? The resonance within you, it can be used to reinforce the barriers. But the process ... She hesitated. It will likely kill you. Marcus looked at this impossible woman, this guardian from the stars, and felt the weight of choice settle on his shoulders. Outside, soldiers were spreading through the forest, closing in on their position. Everything he'd believed about the world had shattered in the span of minutes. But one truth remained clear. Humanity was in danger, and somehow he was the key to saving them. The descent, the first explosion shook the cabin, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Marcus ducked instinctively as Zephyr raised her hand, her markings blazing with silver light. The air around them shimmered, and the sounds of the approaching. Soldiers became muffled, distant. Concealment field, she explained curtly. It will not last long. You have technology that can hide us, but you need me to seal some ancient prison? Marcus struggled to process the contradictions. Why can't you just... Because I am not of this world, Zephyr interrupted. The seals respond only to native life forces. Your species' interference has created a unique resonance signature. You are the only one who can repair what has been. Broken. Another explosion, closer this time. Through the window, Marcus could see soldiers moving in formation, their weapons sweeping the forest. Among them walked a figure he recognized, Dr. Patricia Vance, the project's lead physicist. She carried a device that pulsed with the same energy signature as the breach. They're using the quantum resonance to track me, Marcus realized. I'm like a beacon. Yes, and every moment you remain here, you feed the sleepers. Zephyr pressed, her palm against the cabin's floor, and the organic surface responded, sections sliding away to reveal a descending passage. We must go down to the true heart of this place. The tunnel beyond defied physics. Walls of living stone pulsed with veins of light, and the air itself seemed to breathe. Marcus followed Zyphia into the depths, his engineer's mind reeling at the impossible architecture. The passage curved and twisted, leading them deeper than the cabin's foundation should have allowed. "What is this place?" he whispered. "A fragment of the First Empire," Zyphia replied. "My people built these guardhouses across the galaxy, sealing away the sleepers after the Great War. We thought we had contained them all." They emerged into a vast chamber that took Marcus's breath away. The ceiling stretched impossibly high, supported by pillars of crystallized starlight. In the center of the room stood a structure that hurt to look at, a geometric impossibility that seemed to fold in on itself, containing infinite space within finite boundaries. "The threshold," Zyphia breathed. "The prison of the last. Sleeper. There's only one. One is enough." Her voice carried the weight of cosmic horror. "The sleepers are not merely alive. They are concepts, given form, entropy, void, the hunger that exists in the spaces between atoms. This one is the devourer of worlds, the thing that ends civilizations not through destruction, but through consumption of meaning itself." The chamber shuddered. Far above, they could hear the soldiers breaching the cabin, their voices echoing down the tunnel, but Marcus barely noticed. His attention was fixed on the threshold, where something vast and terrible was stirring. "It's waking up," he said. "Your resonance calls to it," Zyphia confirmed. "The breach created a sympathetic vibration. Each moment you remain here strengthens the connection." "Then why bring me here?" "Because proximity is necessary for the sealing. Ritual. But we must hurry." She began moving around the chamber, her hands dancing over control surfaces that emerged from the walls at her touch. "The process requires precise timing. You must channel the breach resonance into the containment matrix at the exact moment of—" Her words were cut off as the tunnel erupted in gunfire. The soldiers had found them. Marcus spun to see tactical lights cutting through the darkness, followed by the staccato rhythm of automatic weapons. "Dr. Kane." Dr. Vance's voice echoed through the chamber. "We know you're down there." "We're not here to hurt you. We need your help." "They lie," Zyphia said urgently. "They seek to harness the sleeper's power. They believe they can control it." "Control what?" Marcus demanded, but even as he spoke, he felt it a presence vast and hungry, pressing against the boundaries of the threshold. Something that had been waiting eons for freedom, and now sensed its opportunity. The sleeper was indeed stirring, and humanity's arrogance had given it the key to escape. The choice: Dr. King, step away from the alien. Dr. Vance's voice carried an authority that made Marcus's trained reflexes want to obey. Behind her, a full tactical team spread through the chamber, their weapons trained on Zyphia. "We know what she is. We know what she's been hiding." Zyphia's markings flared brighter, and the air around her began to distort. "They speak of knowledge they do not possess," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the soldiers' equipment spark and crackle. "Your species' arrogance will doom you all." "Arrogance?" Dr. Vance laughed, the sound harsh in the crystalline chamber. "We've been monitoring this site for 30 years. We know about the Guardian protocols, the containment systems, the entity. Below, what we didn't know was how to access it." She gestured to Marcus. "Until you provided the key." Marcus felt the weight of betrayal settle in his chest. "You used me. The experiment wasn't an accident." "Of course not. We've been trying to create a stable breach for decades. The energy signature you carry is the exact frequency needed to weaken the containment barriers." Vance's eyes gleamed with fanatic intensity. "Do you understand what we found here? A being of pure energy, capable of rewriting reality itself. With proper containment, we could harness that power." "You cannot contain what you do not understand," Zyphia said, her form beginning to shift and blur. "The sleepers are not energy. They are the absence of energy. They are the void that exists between thoughts, the hunger that devours meaning itself. The threshold pulsed, and Marcus felt something vast and terrible turn its attention toward them. Geometric impossibility at the chamber's center began to unfold, revealing glimpses of something that his mind refused to process. Stars going out, galaxies collapsing inward, the death of light itself. "It's beautiful," Dr. Vance whispered, her face illuminated by the growing radiance. "The perfect weapon, the ultimate tool." "Doctor," one of the soldiers said urgently, "the readings are off the charts. Whatever's in there, it's not stable." "Of course it's not stable," Vance snapped. "That's why we need the Guardian's knowledge. She's going to help us perfect the containment." "I will die first," Zyphia said simply. "That can be arranged." Vance raised her sidearm, but Marcus stepped between them. "Wait," he said, his mind racing. "There's something you're not considering. If this thing is as dangerous as she says, and you're wrong about containing it—" "We're not wrong," Vance interrupted. "We have the technology. We have the knowledge. We have you." She smiled coldly. "The resonance signature you carry doesn't just weaken the barriers. It creates a sympathetic link. You're connected to it now, Marcus. Through you, we can control it." Marcus felt the truth of her words in his bones. The breach had changed him, marked him, made him into something that existed partially in both dimensions. He could feel the sleeper's attention like ice water in his veins, could sense its hunger pressing against the weakening barriers. "You're insane," he said. "Even if you could control it, what then? You'd have a weapon that could destroy worlds." "Exactly." Vance's smile widened. "The ultimate deterrent. No enemy would dare challenge a nation that could erase them from existence. And when your control fails, when something goes wrong—" Marcus backed toward Zyphia, feeling the alien woman's presence like a warm light in the growing darkness. "You'll have doomed not just Earth, but every world the sleepers can reach. The risk is acceptable," Vance said. "The potential benefits outweigh." Her words were cut off as the chamber shuddered. The threshold cracked, and through the fissure poured something that was less darkness than the absence of light. The soldiers screamed as their equipment failed, their communications cutting to static. "It's breaking free," Zyphia said urgently. "The resonance is too strong now. We have minutes before total containment failure." Marcus looked at the terror on the soldiers' faces, at Dr. Vance's growing panic, at the impossible geometry of the failing prison. In that moment, he understood the choice before him wasn't just about survival. It was about the future of humanity itself. "Tell me what I have to do," he said to Zyphia. "You would trust an alien over your own species?" Vance demanded. Marcus met her eyes steadily. "I trust someone who spent eternity guarding against this threat over someone who wants to weaponize it." The threshold cracked wider, and something vast and hungry began to stir. To seal the sleeper's awakening sent shockwaves through reality itself. Marcus felt it in his bones, the fundamental wrongness of its existence, the way it turned order into chaos simply by being present. The soldiers' weapons discharged randomly. As their targeting systems failed, and Dr. Vance's containment device sparked and died in her hands. "The resonance field is collapsing," Zyphia said, her voice tight with urgency. "I need you to understand what I'm asking will kill you. Your life force will become the new seal, binding the sleeper for another 1,000 years. "But humanity will be safe?" Marcus asked, watching his hairline cracks spread across the threshold surface. "Your species will have time to grow, to learn, to perhaps develop the wisdom to face such threats properly." Zyphia's silver eyes met his, "But you will not see that future." Dr. Vance struggled with her malfunctioning equipment, her face pale with growing panic. "Dr. Kane, listen to me. We can still contain it. We can still—" Her words were cut off as the threshold shattered completely. What emerged wasn't a creature in any sense Marcus could comprehend. It was an absence, a hunger that existed in the spaces between atoms. Where it touched the chamber walls, stone didn't crumble. It simply ceased to have ever existed. Now, Xiphia shouted, before it fully manifests. Marcus stepped forward, feeling the breach resonance within him respond to his will. The quantum signature that had marked him as a fugitive now blazed like a star, creating a bridge between dimensions. He could feel the sleeper's attention turn toward him, could sense its alien hunger focusing on the energy he carried. "I'm not doing this to save humanity," he said, his voice steady despite the terror clawing at his mind. "I'm doing it because it's right." The ritual was agony. Marcus felt his life force flowing outward, weaving itself into the fundamental structure of the containment field. The sleeper fought against the binding, its presence pressing against his mind like a weight of infinite darkness. But humanity's greatest strength had always been its stubborn refusal to quit, and Marcus embodied that trait perfectly. "You cannot hold me forever," the sleeper whispered in his thoughts, its voice like the death of stars. "I am entropy itself. I am the end of all things." "Maybe," Marcus gasped, pouring more of himself into the seal. "But not today." The binding took hold with a sound like reality healing itself. The sleeper's form collapsed inward, contained once more within a prison forged from human determination and alien technology. The chamber stabilized, the impossible geometry settling into something merely improbable. Marcus collapsed, his body aging rapidly as his life force drained away. Xiphia caught him as he fell, her luminous features soft with something that might have been sorrow. "The soldiers," he whispered. "Vance, they'll try again." "No," Xiphia said gently. "The breach has been sealed. The resonance signatures will fade. Your facility will find only empty rooms and failed experiments." She looked up at Dr. Vance, who stood frozen in shock. "And I will remain here to ensure such folly is not repeated." "You trust us with that knowledge?" Marcus asked. "I trust you," she corrected. "Your choice proves that humanity has the capacity for wisdom. Perhaps not all of your species, but enough." Marcus felt his consciousness beginning to fade, but he fought to stay focused. The other guardhouses, there are more like this, scattered across the galaxy. Most remain secure. Xiphia's voice carried a note of hope. "And perhaps, when your species truly reaches the stars, you will help us maintain the vigil." "A partnership?" Marcus smiled weakly. "I think I'd like that." Dr. Vance finally found her voice. "This is insane. You're throwing away the greatest discovery in human history." "No," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm saving it." As his vision darkened, Marcus felt a strange peace settle over him. Above, the forest would return to its watchful silence. The soldiers would report equipment failures and empty chambers. The secret would be buried, as it should be, but humanity would endure, would grow, would perhaps one day prove worthy of the terrible knowledge they had glimpsed. And when that day came, they would find allies waiting among the stars' guardians, who understood that some doors should only be opened by those wise enough to know when to close them again. The seal held. The sleeper dreamed. And in a forest house hidden from the world, an alien woman maintained her eternal vigil. No longer alone, Marcus Kane died as he had lived an engineer solving problems, building bridges between worlds and proving that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its weapons or its technology, but in its willingness to sacrifice for something greater than itself. The forest was quiet once more.